Hi everyone, I'm Sloane Taylor and thanks for popping into What's Cooking Wednesday. Today we're going to do an American classic, Meatloaf, but we're going to perp it up just a little tiny bit to give it some zing. So we have ground chuck. You do not want ground beef because there's too much fat in it. You want 80% lean. We have ground pork. If you don't want to use the pork, use more ground beef. We have bread that we're going to soak in milk, onion, and an egg that we'll beat lightly, and barbecue sauce. And I want to tell you all that there are none of the foods that I use that are prepackaged are sponsoring this show in any way. So now, we're going to get started here. We're going to take our milk and we are going to add the bread because it's supposed to soak for 5 minutes, and we'll speed that up so that you're not just sitting there for 5 minutes. Now you want to push it down into the milk a little bit so that it absorbs it. When we use this, we'll dump out the excess milk because we don't want that to go into the meatloaf. We just want the bread. Put that to the side a bit. And we're going to put on, oh good Lord, I need to get new pot holders. We're going to put on our handy dandy disposable gloves because we're going to mix this all by hand. And to do that, can't stand the feel of all that grease on my hands. And it's cold. So now, first we plop in the ground chuck. And we're going to put in the ground pork. Then I'm going to beat the egg a little bit, lightly, just lightly. And the recipe is at the end of the video with enough time for you to write down anything. And our onion. And now you're like, okay, now we're going to use the spoon first to kind of break it up a little bit. Now you're supposed to use a quarter cup of, pardon me, a quarter cup of the barbecue sauce, and you use your favorite brand. I just happen to like a sweeter kind. So just put in as much as you like, but don't go like, don't put in a cup. That's way too much. So now we're going to mix this again a little bit, and then now we're going to use our hands, because that's the only way you're going to get it where all the ingredients blend in well. And it needs to be blended well so it stays together while you're baking it. And we're going to bake this for 1 hour and 20 minutes, which we won't have you waiting that long, because I'm sure you don't want to hear me just rattle on for that long. Okay, now, so we have the meat starting to mix together and all the ingredients. Now we're going to take the milk and get rid of the excess milk and just use, you'll squeeze a little bit onto the bread to get rid of the excess milk. See, so it's just going to be a little bit. And you scoop that in there, we move that out of the way, and then we mix all this in. And the egg and the bread is what holds it together, binds it. And you want to do it where you're pulling it forward, pushing down, pulling it forward, because that's what keeps it all mixing in, and it makes a nice tight group of meat and veggies. Hey, no falling over. Stop. Okay, now Now we're going to get the pan. Because this is such a huge quantity of meat, to pick it all up at one time, believe me, can be a disaster, because that's happened for me. So you try to form it a little bit in here, divide it in half, and pick up a portion, and then you fold it in together, or form it like you're making a giant meatball. Okay, then you put it into the pan. Do the same with the other part. Plop it in. Get our last little bit here. Get this out of our way. The reason we're using the pot holder is so the pans aren't clanking against the countertop. See? Now you can do one of two things. You can bake it just as is, or you can spread a little bit more of the barbecue sauce across the top. Not a lot, just a little bit. Oh, nasty. And that's what we're going to do. Let's see if we can get some out. We'll just run a little line down the middle. Take our fork and kind of spread it a bit. Now when you make this, you have to let it sit a little bit after it comes out of the oven, because it'll crumble away. So you want to let it sit for about 5 minutes. You have to drain off all the fat, because there will be fat from the pork and the beef. And then you lift it out as one. And when you have leftovers, you want to just put that in cling wrap, put it in your refrigerator, and then the next day slice it into sections to use it for sandwiches. This meatloaf makes great sandwiches, and it freezes beautifully. So now I'm going to pop this in the oven, and then we're going to have a few seconds of whiteout for you, but really it's an hour and 20 minutes. So you take care, and I'll be right back. And here we are. Wasn't that a quick hour and a half? We have our finished product. Serve it with a good dry red wine, mashed potatoes, fresh green beans, or a salad. And you'll have a perfect meal that's easy to do, freezes well, makes great leftovers. Thank you for coming by, and I hope to see you again next week. And in the meantime, may you spend the rest of your days with laughter, good friends, and seated around a well-laden table. Bye!